play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to rise. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship live on Apex Racing TV and live on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Daniel Leet with Scott Newton on the cameras this evening. And we're here for the final endurance meeting of the season, the fourth endurance meeting of the season at Barcelona. Daniel, this is, despite being a relatively new circuit, it's only been on the service for about a year. We keep on coming back to this place. Every season since this circuit has been released, AMF has visited this circuit, and so it should be known very well to the drivers already.
Yeah, good evening, Sam, and to all the viewers tuning in. Great to be back in your living rooms, computer rooms, wherever you may have a stream tonight. Yeah, look, it's a fantastic little circuit, Barcelona. I was fortunate to get out for a few laps during the course of the weekend. Admittedly, I'm no good, but the drivers out here tonight are very, very good around here. Look, it's a track that's going to offer up its own unique set of challenges. We've seen it in a couple of other championships where a lot of strategies come into play. A couple of unfortunate moves have led to some penalties, which potentially the guys could be back in for again tonight here if they're unlucky. But it's one of those things that's really going to challenge these cars. The setups have been very interesting this week. Obviously, we're still running the long endurance setup that we've seen in the last 3 rounds. And a few cars have been very tricky to get around here, notably the Porsche, not quite having the same feel as a few of the others. But all in all, I think the racing so far should be very, very good.
Yeah, it should be competitive up and down the order. We've had an incredibly competitive championship so far this season, this round 8 of the championship, and I'm not even sure if there's been any repeat winners so far, and if there has, I think there's only been one, maybe Craig Edwards, who will be starting from pole position for this round of the championship. And of course, double points as always. 90 minutes race. Drivers have already done qualifying. There's a couple of splits, so it's a very competitive order we have up. A little bit of a rundown, Daniel, of what happened last time out at Nürburgring. There was a little bit of confusion when we stepped away from the stream, with plenty of penalties being given out for virtual safety car infractions, just not getting down to the time limit. And in the end, it really changed up the order quite a bit, and pretty much everyone got a penalty. And if we see that again today, it's going to be another massive element, because I think we got 59 penalties last time out for virtual safety car infractions. We don't expect as many around this circuit. Safety cars are going to be more common, but still really something for the drivers to think about, because it's about time that they get used to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen already over the last 3 endurance events quite a few virtual safety cars come out. So the guys are well versed now in the process around getting around those and getting the cars stopped in time. With some additions that race control have done, really now affords these drivers no leeway. They know, as per the rules, if they don't get those cars down in time, they will get penalties. And if we do see subsequent VSCs and they get more of them, likely to be more accumulations against them overall.
In the end, after the penalties were given out, it was Lockie Brown who took the race win across the line, only in second place. But the amateur driver got the race win because he only got 1 penalty, whilst the former race leader got a couple. Craig Edwards on pole position already has taken a endurance win so far this season, has Edwards, and he is currently top of the championship going into this round. So certainly looking very good. Admit is the Fusion Sim Racing driver. Joshua Thomas second place in the championship. He lines up alongside him. Danny Davidson starts in third. Then it's Michael Healy, who was very strong at Nürburgring. Jeremy Clark, Timothy Theben, defending champion. Jordan Cullis, Trent Thomas. Sean Curran, who was extremely quick at Watkins Glen. Will be interesting to see what Curran can do, because he almost had race-winning pace on that occasion. Then it's Ross Rizzo, third place in the championship. Nathan Huppert's Kane Ryder. Martin Chris, Matt Morris, Simon Nicholson, Martin Silvassi, Brady McHugh, Vaughan Ryder, a little bit far down, Steve Janssen, Blake Delaney, Nick Sanfilippo, Adam Gardner, Michael Whiting, Adrian Vlock, Aaron Specchier, Chris Keeping, Christopher Hughes, Tom Huggan, Dominic Mellett, and Michael Surlock. Apologies, that may not have been in the complete correct order, but it was close enough, eh? So the drivers has run these last couple of courses. It's not a very long pace lap around the circuit, and will very soon be underway for 90 minutes of racing at Barcelona. It's Edwards from the pole position. what's going to happen in this round 8 of the championship. The drivers get the foot down, and we are away racing. Thomas trying to get into the slipstream immediately, but it was a good launch from Edwards down into turn 1. Not many changes. Jeremy Clark getting past Michael Healy for 4th position, but the top 3 look like they are in line. Maybe Clark just trying to gain another place. Oh, off the circuit for the race leader, Edwards. Will that be a slowdown potentially, because he was really slow there. Thomas gets past through turn 3, and I think Edwards is dropping down because he has got a slowdown, and that is a very unusual mistake from a very experienced driver at the start of this one. Thomas leading, Davison in 2nd place, Healy, Clark, Theben, and Edwards down to 6th, and now even 7th. Oh, and now Edwards is round. It's a shocking start, and that might even be a safety car as well, though the drivers have fallen off the circuit. Fortunately, as we've got another incident, I think that's Ron Ryder in the BMW going off, and there's a big pile-up at turn 5. Drivers having to slow down, and at the moment, no safety car being called out there, but they always need to. Oh, and now we've got another incident at turn 9. And this has allowed and that was a safety car, I think. The drivers having to slow down, and that's caused massive issues. And it's one of the most remarkable starts we've ever seen in this championship. It will be one of the most remarkable starts you'll see on the iRacing Esports Network and on Apex Racing TV all season long. But we are under safety car, or virtual safety car it is, so at least the field will pack back up. But Daniel, that was 4 or 5 incidents going off there, and I think it all started off with Craig Edwards totally outbraking himself down into turn 1.
Yeah, it was a really awkward start for everyone there. For Edwards, he made a bit of a meal of that run into turn 1, I should say. Got in there way too hot. It's very easy to do in that Porsche. That was probably one of the biggest issues that I had with it, driving it out there earlier in the week. But from there, with that slowdown penalty, trying to get back in line, it ultimately led to what we saw with more drivers being involved in it later on, and now subsequently ending up with our first safety car, which is out on circuit at the moment, in the hands of Alex Bird there. So he's on duties tonight. But for Josh Thomas at the moment, he's managed to get himself back up into the lead of this race, where we've seen him throughout the course of this championship. And he's going to have a pretty good shot ahead now with a few Porsches lining up behind. But here's a replay of what unfolded.
So now we see what happened at the start. It was such a good launch as well for Edwards, did everything right. And then just not getting on the brakes early enough down into turn 1, and that's really what's cost him. Here we are, down into this first corner. He just drives it in a little bit too deep, too much pace. Cold tyres, of course. And that was the slowdown. Then I think we may as well just carry this on until turn 5, because Edwards seemed to be involved again.
Yeah, he hung out really wide there, trying to allow everyone to get through. And looks like one of maybe the Trick Esport cars, might have also been one of the Fusion cars in behind, getting involved. And actually Edwards losing it all on his own, the Porsche just not getting that rear grip. Might have been Matt Morris involved in that as well, as well as one of the Ryder boys there as well. So really awkward scenario for those guys.
And then up in 2nd place, this was when the safety car was deployed, and the 2nd place driver slowed down, and the others just weren't prepared for it, and they all came bundling in. To be fair, it was only a little bit of contact, and I wonder if the stewards will try to reorder the drivers. I'm not sure how iRacing will deal with it as well, because it was a different order at the start of the safety car compared to what it was a few moments later, so I'm not quite sure what iRacing has decided to do there. It seems like they haven't reordered the grid that much. Not many kind of overtakes being given out to drivers. And so we'll just do this another lap under the safety car. And of course, might be able to get your first pit stop done in this stage. And is that an obvious strategy, you think?
It's probably not a bad idea. Obviously, you do go into these races a little bit light on fuel for the start of it, so getting that first stop out of the way is always a good idea. There's already a couple of cars down the lane that I'm hearing working their way in at the moment, so those guys getting their first stop. So that's Tim Theben, Martin Chris, Blake Delaney also dropping in as well, which is actually not a bad strategy. They're going to get away with this one pretty well, relatively free. They'll come into the back of the queue and then push on forward from there, and you can see a host of other cars now following suit.
And they got to make sure that they drop to the end of the line. I'm surprised the pit lane's even open. I guess they will just get an end of line. That's how slow they're going round. But that drivers can come out of the pits and not have too many, not lose too many places. In fact, are they the drivers who came into the pits, or are they actually drivers who are lapped down? No, they did just come into the pits. And of course, quite a few drivers as well with damage, which they'll want to repair. That does seem to be an obvious strategy. The drivers have got to make 2 pit stops in today's race, one of which, or both of which, but at least one of which, they've got to take tyres. So you would think that you'd want to get that long pit stop done under safety car. You lose less time. Although, of course, you will have very old tyres, as Scott Newton letting us know on the I just don't want to have a repeat of Silverstone 1 week ago when you had the tyre delaminations. Don't think that's too much of a worry. However, if you do get down to 0% tyre wear in iRacing, you will have a delamination similar to that. Although I doubt the drivers would be able to reach that, but it would be a very exciting end, as it was last Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. I do recall a few, I think it might have been Le Mans last year, where a few drivers managed to get down into that sort of state and had a few subsequent tyre issues from running the cars that hard. So for these guys here, while it is 90 minutes that they've got to get themselves through, I think erring on the side of taking tyres at this early point may not be the best strategy call. Admittedly, if you can get a new set of tyres, run a few laps longer, you still can come back in later on and take another set. So probably not a bad idea. To maybe take 2 sets. And the way the track rubbers up, it's going to suit those guys a little further on in the race. Admittedly, the cold tyres not the best, but once they get up to temp, they're very, very good.
Yeah, may just take fuel under this first one. How long were the drivers' pit stops? There's a range. Some drivers not taking tyres, some drivers taking tyres. How the guys who have come into the pits. And in fact, actually, at the moment, Timothy Feeman's still up in 9th place. Didn't get an end of line. I would have thought you would do, seeing that when you come to the pits, you usually have to drop to the back. But, well, we'll see what happens here. It's Joshua Thomas from the lead. Can he have a better start than Craig Edwards did earlier on lap 1? We're back racing again. And Thomas straight away trying to break the draft down this pit straight. 3.5 tenths to a second clear of Michael Healy. We've got Brady McEwen 5th place up, or in 4th place, up 13 places at the moment. Very little movement. In fact, quite a few gaps between the drivers. Perhaps them just realising that this is an early part of the race, as Martin Chris does pick up a position, it seems, on Vaughan Ryder, but perhaps just defending down into that corner, remains in 13th place, just where he started. But yeah, plenty of different strategies now, and the drivers got to run their own races. Trent Thomas trying to go around the outside of Brady McHugh at the moment, who is a little bit out of position. We didn't start for McHugh, but an amateur driver, as indicated by his orange background colour, and it is Trent Thomas. In fact, actually defending against Sean Curran, apologies. Brady McHugh, a little bit of a gap just ahead.
Yeah, actually, this is probably going to work out nice for Trent here at the moment. The BMW is a little bit better on the tyres in the opening stint for Curran. He's really going to have to push and try and keep the back of that car planted. Although at the moment he's also got himself a mirrors full of Simon Nicholson just behind. Nick Sanfilippo not that far behind as well. So we see a big move down the inside. Not quite able to get that car through, but really having a solid crack there for Nicholson.
No further action between 383 and 987. Oh, there's contact there. I think the stewards are going to be busy again. It's Vaughan Ryder, Kane Ryder, who has gone round. And Nick Sanfilippo, so the driver who at least involved in that one. We often see how he takes down into that, or up into that turn 11 corner. It's not necessarily technically obvious. We don't use that layout a whole lot in real life motorsports, of course. Yeah, he went for it there, Sanfilippo, and there was contact, and the stewards will be looking at that one in a few moments' time, I imagine.
Yeah, and the other guy that we're going to have to keep an eye for a potential penalty as well is Michael Healy, who we did see at the back end of the replays there making contact with Danny Davison and rotating the EXG Motorsport car around. So potential when that VSC called with Healy that could get that, but again, we'll wait to see what race control has to say about that. It's interesting to see already, though, a couple of laps in, the Porsche starting to drop away from the back of Thomas, so struggling just a fraction there, but over the long run, we should see them potentially come back into play here.
Top of the drivers who have pitted, of course, is Timothy Theben, who only took fuel at his pit stop. In fact, barely took any fuel, took 4 seconds of fuel. So do watch out for the driver currently running in 8th position, a little bit out of our position at the moment. Sweet. Is that Edwards? Oh no, it's just in front of him. That's Nathan Huppert. 2nd place in the championship last season, and he's gone off the circuit. And after a disappointing start for Huppert, has come into the pits already. And it was ahead of Edwards, of course. They would have wanted to stay ahead of Edwards as well. It was the move. And had no contact whatsoever, just rotating the car, losing grip on the rear end, and losing plenty of time.
Yeah, very fortunate there not to be involved in any issues with the lock-up in the rear, as we see Adrian Vlock moving through on Chris Keeping there. Nice run down into turn 1. Ross Rizzo now lining up for a shot at the back of the Porsche that Keeping is driving, so we'll see that potentially up into 3 and 4. These guys well down the order, though, to where they'd be traditionally seen, however, have taken that 1 pit stop. So not too bad a running for all of these guys. Keeping's going to have his work cut out for him here, though, trying to hold off Ross Rizzo behind him.
Nick Sanfilippo serving his drive-through, it seems, for I don't think he has served his, or maybe he has served his drive-through, for an instance earlier on in the race, lap 1. So he drops to the back of the order. And Chris Keeping top of the rookie drivers. That's pitted as well as Keeping. Apologies if you said that, Daniel. And yeah, just on the tail of Adrian Vlock at the moment, 1.3 seconds for the leaders. And these drivers currently 14 seconds off the lead. Just a whole lot of field spread. We're expecting all the drivers to have to pit before the hour mark. You probably want to pit on the 45-minute mark for the fastest route to the end of the race, pit on the 45 and then take some tyres at that point, and then maybe 15 minutes later pit again for the rest of the fuel. However, you've got to take into consideration track position as well, and your ability to overtake drivers as well. So we do see a lot of variation in the strategy. Here comes Rizzo, closing in on Keeping. It's not a big braking area into turn 1, and Rizzo finding out that. And he stays in 17th place, but he does need to start moving up through the order.
Yeah, definitely. Rizzo's really going to need to start moving on that, but we'll look forward to him working his way through a little further up. Aaron Specchio on the back of Michael Whiting. So the RCR cars versus Fishy Motorsports getting into it, and just behind that as well, you've got another one of the Trick Esport cars. There's quite a few of them out tonight in the hands of Martin Silvassi, currently in that 11th spot. Already up 5 positions. Most of these guys already had a few spots gained after, obviously, those pit stops and a few infractions that brought out the safety car there, but solid effort from all these guys just hanging around the top 10.
Big thanks to the sponsors for this championship. We don't really talk about them a whole lot, but they do support the series absolutely fantastically. So thanks to Track Racer, and certainly do check out their products, some fantastic sim rigging equipment. And they've been in the business for a long time, and some fantastic quality stuff that you can purchase from Track Racer. Certainly do check them out if you're looking to buy a new rig or anything. And also thanks to Acuta as well, who also do a bit of rigging and also hardware as well. So thanks to Acuta and also RMS as well, who help setting up these sessions. Certainly recommend, if anyone's actually we've got a little bit of action here. Adrian Vlock, we've got a lot of action down into turn 1 as Adrian Vlock gaining a place on Born Rider. Ross Rizzo was looking to get past Vlock just a few moments ago, couldn't do it, and now he's got to get past Rider himself, who has yet to come into the pits. But thanks to RMS Race Management Service for setting up these sessions, and certainly if you are organising any leagues, do recommend contacting the RMS guys and getting and downloading that software, because it does make session setting up a whole lot easier. It's not the most easy thing on iRacing. Certainly do check them out. Recommend checking out RMS in the near future. Craig Edwards right in the middle of this as we've got the 980 round. It's Steve Janssen. Got another spinner then. It's down at turn 7. That's a little bit of an unsafe rejoin as well for Janssen. We'll see if the stewards think poorly on that. Was it a mistake from Janssen? Just went in a bit too deep, didn't want to hit the rear of his rival, and round he went.
Yeah, a little unfortunate for Janssen, having a really solid run throughout the field, so he's got a lot of work now to do to get himself back up. Just keeping an eye on where everyone is currently. He's at the tail of, down in 29th position now, so that's a big long way down the order for him. As we see the two teammates for Right Sim Racing, 3rd and 4th at the moment. Jeremy Clark focusing on Brad McHugh at the moment. These guys having a really good run, must be said. Right behind, Trick Esports again featuring in this one, with Trent Thomas now in the BMW. Best place currently, actually just behind Michael Healy. You can see down at the bottom of the shot there. So very solid run for all these three. Surprised the BMW of Trent Thomas hasn't been able to find a way through. What we'd seen earlier on, the BMW definitely looks to be the preferred car around this circuit early on. Seems just to be struggling just a little bit for tyre fade at this moment.
It is a remarkably tricky circuit to overtake on, especially for a Grand Prix circuit. It's extremely difficult, and these cars have a little bit of aero wash. It's not a massive deal. There is a bit of aero washing in these cars, but it's mainly just the lack of braking areas around the circuit. You got some long straights, but turn 1 in particular, you expect that to be a real opportunity, and yet you get down into turn 1. There's barely any braking with the speed that these GC cars carry. And, the opportunity kind of disappears, and again into this turn 10, especially with this layout. These cars with the slightly banked corner, some campers. Can carry a lot of speed and really dive in deep into the corner. Kane Ryder, what do you think? We just saw him on the outskirts of the circuit. Vaughan Ryder, apologies, I'll get that right at some point during the season. Max Beast Racing back underway. Shane for Vaughan was up in the top 20, down into 27th place though now. And that's a drive-through penalty for car number 108. And that is Christopher Hughes, who has just come into the pits, I assume, to serve that drag thing. So coming in straight away, that was for an incident on lap 10, which really just started, so that's very impressive. Or maybe it's a typo.
Yeah, I'd imagine that he will need to probably come back through the lane again. Looks like he did take a stop that time by, so keep an eye on that. But potential there, Chris will have to come back through. Brad McHugh, however, further up the field, really starting to come under a lot of attack at the moment from Trent Thomas. He's dropped a little way behind his teammate Jeremy Clark there as the pressure starts to melt. Unfortunately, with this historic layout we're at the moment, the real good passing opportunity down into turn 10 almost been taken away with the slightly longer radius that the old layout used to present. So for Trent Thomas, really going to have to start to get a little bit creative with where he wants to make this move. I think looking at the way the race is running at the moment, turn 1 probably going to be his ideal spot if he can get that draft.
Keeping up with Jeremy Clark well, though he did just drop into the 39s. The lap times are dropping off. They were in the mid 38s, into the late 38s now. 38.8 for the racing. In fact, Thomas did a 37.6 earlier on. So the pace is going away. Maybe just the tyres being a little bit overheated at the moment, falling out of their operation zone. Have improved the time on quite a bit of iRacing in recent months, so much easier to get their tyres up to pace, and so at the start of the stint they are that bit quicker. Michael Whiting in 10th place, 14 from his start, and he has just lost that place to Aaron Specchia. Down into turn 1, 16 places now gained for Specchia, yet to come into the pits, however. which I think will cost him bad. Maybe in hindsight it would have been better for Spectre, but he's trying the alternate strategy. So 2 more stops to make. And that was simple enough, and now he'll be hoping that Whiting can hold up a few of these drivers just behind him.
Yeah, definitely. Silvassi also looking to get involved in that. Nearly stuck the nose in to turn 1 there, or tried to get the run out through turn 1, sorry, but Michael not allowing that through and holding the position at the moment. But Silvassi will have to come through for a shot. Just behind that, you've got Martin Crisp and Jordan Cullis, the XRC teammates, starting to queue up and get ready to have a crack here as well.
Surely only a matter of time, you'd think. Still got another 20 minutes until drivers will start to come into the pits. Might see some drivers who pitted under the safety car earlier on who only took fuel, maybe pit on the 30-minute mark, potentially. And get some clear air, get some fresh tyres on. I imagine most drivers will leave it until probably about 50 minutes into the race to make their next pit stop. Jordan Cullis closing in. They won't be close enough into turn 1. By the way, top of the drivers who have taken tyres already, Ross Rizzo in 15th place. And Rizzo isn't making any progress at the moment. 39.2 on that last lap for Rizzo. That's about 0.7 of a second slower than the race leader. Rizzo does have a chance at winning this race, but he needs to be lapping faster than this. We saw he's one of the smartest drivers, Daniel, when it comes to strategy. Suzuka, he was on it. He knew before the race, he knew before the season, in fact, when he saw that new rule, he straight away thought, okay, there's some opportunities here. And he straight away jumped on it, and so did the other Czech esports drivers. And I think he ended up winning that race with a post-race penalty for Joshua Thomas. So he is smart, and I think this is the best strategy potentially from Rizzo, but he just doesn't quite have the pace at the moment. Maybe that's something that Rizzo doesn't quite have on the likes of Craig Edwards and Joshua Thomas, that outright pace. But in terms of ingenuity, he's certainly right up there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, prior to Rizzo coming across the Czech esports team, he was a multi-time champion in a couple of GT series, as we see Huppert's pulled away to the side there. That's a bit of an awkward one. But you don't win multiple championships like Rizzo's done without being smart in that area. So he'll definitely find a way through and get up. But here's a look at Nathan Huppert just to see what happened. Loses the car on the way into turn 3 there. Front end just washing out. Able to recover it, loses a couple of spots, which makes it seem like there's no real issues there with the car. See whether we can see what ultimately run to his demise a little further through on that lap. Actually, another issue, gets the curb again and just calls it done and dusted right there. So a little bit of an unfortunate one for Nathan, and hopefully we'll see him either back out for another run. If not tonight, definitely going on back to the 45-minute events starting again next week.
Thomas is falling. Of the Trent variety. Where has he gone? There he is. That's a long way away from the circuit. I can only... We do sometimes see that. Well, sometimes we see quarter panels on the entry. I've seen it loads of times in the ARL Touring Car Championship. Trust me, they'll find all the ways that you can fall off the circuit in that series. Thomas, there he is. He slipped a wheel onto the grass and gone off the circuit, and a little bit slow as well to get back underway. To an unusual line, I think, just to avoid going back head on to the circuit. It's Trent Thomas dropping out of the top 10. In fact, he's down to 18th place now. It's Trent. Had good pace as well in the 38s. Was matching the race leaders, but not anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And similar incident to what we saw just prior to that for Nathan Huppert as well, just catching a little bit of a wheel on the dirt there and the car going off. So unfortunate for Trent. We'll have a lot of work back to do to come through the field. He has got back underway. Just trying to find him now. Geez, all the way back down in 18th position. And when you think he was only in 5th not that long ago, that's a tough order for him to try and bring that car through.
Yeah, we were fully expecting him to get past McHugh and probably Clark. might be up in the top 3 soon. But not the case for him. He's a little bit out of position now because everyone around him's already made a pit stop. So this will be a long evening for Trent Thomas. He'll need a handful of safety cars, I think, just to mix up the order. I think later on, if he's going to get a good result. Matt Morris in the 966 machine. Some good results so far this season. And he's on the tail of the rookie driver, Chris Keeping, who is comfortably at the top of the rookie drivers with Christopher Hughes' incident earlier on, getting a drive-through penalty. And so Keeping is healthily ahead in that category, but he's battling with his overall guys. He wants to finish up as high as possible. Keeping already with a pit stop as well, as I mentioned earlier on, so he's doing exceptionally well. Although he didn't take tyres under that pit stop. Morris does look faster at the moment. Again, only 23 seconds off the lead. We've been racing under green flag conditions for about 17 minutes now. So the field spread isn't as large as I thought it would be. The field is close. There's only about a second between the quickest drivers and the slowest drivers, which is really testament to the competitiveness of the series. We have got a reduced field today, as there was just a couple too many drivers in order for us to put everyone in top split. But at the moment, these drivers who have come into the pits already keeping up a good pace, and drivers who have got to build a gap struggling to do so at the moment. It'll be very close when the front runners do have to come to the pits in about 15-20 minutes time. Here comes Morris into 4. I think he should be ahead going into 5, ahead of Keeping. Comes off the line as well, and that was a brave move as well from Adam Gardner. If he can pull that one off, that would be a sensational move, and an opportunistic move. He has got a better run into 7. There's not going to be a whole lot of space there, but that's a superb overtake from Adam Gardner out around the outside of a couple of corners, and he's up into 16.
Yeah, really good driving from both Morris and Gardner to get those moves done. Here's the recovering Trent Thomas as well, trying to come through, and Danny Davison, who we saw in that contact earlier in the race. So these guys trying to get through, doing a very good job, just giving enough room to allow the guys through without causing any form of an issue. But ultimately, at this point, still dropping just a little further down than where he'd want to be. I think we're going to see Thomas, if not Davison, also get through here within the next couple of laps at the moment. Matt Morris, keep in mind too, was involved in that early lap incident as well. We saw the velocity car going hard off into the wall at the top of turn 3 there. So for Morris to have come down the lane, got the quick repair out of the way and back up to speed, he's doing a fantastic job just to be sitting in the 15th right now.
Do we know what happened to Craig Edwards? Because he made a pit stop, I believe, under the safety car. He did. In fact, on lap 1. But he's down in 27th place now. I thought he was making some progress up the order. I thought he was up into the top 20, but he's well behind now. He's about 40 seconds off the lead now as the pulse is.
Yeah, looks like there might have been some off-track indiscretions there. Here's another look. That car with quite a bit of damage on it. You see him being rotated around there. That's not going to help his efforts. And who was that in behind? It was one of the XRC cars involved in that one, I think. Actually, just using a little bit of a tap in the corner. And Chris Hughes in that. And then another Porsche getting involved as well. So, not going from bad to worse here for Edwards.
Championship leader. It's highly unlikely he'll be championship leader after this. Second place in championship, Joshua Thomas running in the lead of this race. It's not necessarily the end of the world for Edwards, but certainly could be a bit of a swing in the momentum of this championship. I think he had a poor Nordschleife round as well, so he kind of wants to drop that Nordschleife round and have a good result here. Beeben, who, honestly, I'd say is the favourite for this race. 9 seconds off the lead, has already done a pit stop. Took tyres at his pit stop. Heck, he could take tyres at his next pit stop, and he'd still be looking very strong. Although I imagine he will just skip that one. Very strong in 7th place at the moment. Everyone in front of him yet to come into the pits. 2 pit stops mandatory, so we'll have to make 1 extra pit stop. However, Beeben would like to overtake these drivers. This is when it could get a little bit tricky for him. He does get held behind. Everyone from 3rd place down to 7th in this train. And they're lapping about 3 to 4 tenths of a second slower than the race leaders, which is just an incredible pace from Clark and McHugh right now. They're driving really well. I say it constantly, Dan, and you know, you do a couple of series with me, and I always use the cliche. The field is really close. You know, there's not much splitting him. But I think today it is remarkably close. I mean, just look at those gaps. When we've had as much battling as we've had, for the field to be this close and for the entire order to be separated by 1 second, no drivers as well sprinting away from one another. It's a really, really competitive field we have today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, admittedly, it is a fixed setup, and we know firsthand how much effort the race organisers put into getting these cars almost perfectly BOP to allow the real driver talent to show through, and it's doing that again here tonight. We both commentated on a couple of different series, as you mentioned, and that is also very tight for a different reason. You know, those guys invest a huge amount of time and effort to get their setups dialed to their particular driving styles. With this, the drivers are adapting their own style to fit the car and the setup, and doing it on a track-by-track basis, which is absolutely fantastic. And as we see here, continuing on that, Blake Delaney just getting into a little bit of trouble down in turn 1. Might have been a bit of an off-track for him there, and he'll drop behind Chris Keeping and Kane Ryder as well.
Yep, mistake from Delaney. It's also a move, I think, for Thomas just a little bit further up the road. Oh, that was from Delaney. And he went a little bit too deep. I think there was a bit of contact and slowed right up. Kane Ryder up a place. So 8 places down from where he started, Ryder. Here's Trent Thomas. That was the move on Adam Gardner that he's just made. Trent Thomas with a 38.8 on that last time. The race leader, 38.7. Thomas, one of the fastest drivers out on circuit. I think a whole lot is going to come from it. Going to do well to finish in the top 20. Frankly, today with that extra pit stop, he's going to have to make 3.1 seconds between the leaders at the moment. Michael Healy just dropping off ever so slightly. 2 tenths slower on that last lap. Thomas playing in some really consistent lap times right now. He's got a mission. He's by himself. He's got to run his own race. He can pretty much just pit on the 45-minute mark. That's what I imagine he'll do, although he might try to extend it, in fact. And whilst he's still got some fresh air, whilst he's still not in traffic, because if he does drop back into traffic, it will be tricky to overtake, especially with some extra fuel on board that car. And yeah, that's the consistency that both of the top 2 have at the moment, those consistent high 38s, pulling away from the rest of the order. As I think Daniel Lee's going barking mad at the moment, which is a very funny pun. So, are you still with us, Daniel?
Yep, sorry, apologies for that. Something outside, and the little fella not too impressed with it at all. So, that's okay. He'll get back underway.
Yeah, decent gaps between all these drivers. I wonder if we'll go back to Anspecchio in 8th place. As we often see around this circuit. A lot of not holding station necessarily. Drivers do want to overtake, but it's just so tricky to overtake. You see it time after time. You can't think of obvious circuits like maybe like a Belle Isle, where it's tricky to overtake. Maybe a Mid-Ohio. But this place is extremely difficult as well, despite the fact that they don't necessarily suffer the same issues as they do in Formula 1. In MotoGP and in motorbikes you get quite a few overtakes around here. It's because the braking areas are a bit longer. In these cars, very little. And Michael Whiting nowhere near close enough for an overtake at the moment. And perhaps Ross Rizzo. Ross Rizzo has got past Adrian Block, by the way. He's 3 seconds behind this back, but really catching up to him.
No, Ross doing a really good solid effort. He has pulled 1.9 seconds over Block since getting through, so Carlos is going to be the next contender, and that little train ahead of him is pretty hotly contested at the moment. Also glad you brought up a MotoGP reference around this circuit, because I remember, for anyone who's seen it, I think it was ridden with the first opening segment is Valentino Rossi, Jorge Lorenzo around the final lap of this.
Legendary.
Absolutely phenomenal driving or riding from both of those guys, and to get those passes done and done in the way they are, that's something that these guys are going to have to try and channel, get those cars up as close as possible, try and mitigate as much aero wash as they can, and send those moves down the inside where they need to.
Yeah, I think it was 2010, that battle. It absolute scenes when Rossi went for that audacious move into the last corner. We haven't seen many moves into the last corner today. Maybe, I was about to say more tricky in this. I'm not saying that I could do it if I was Valentino Rossi, but no, absolutely, incredible scenes back on that day. Silvati 3.5 tenths behind you. It does take a chunk out of Whiting on this lap. Whiting just losing the draft slightly to the driver ahead. No way through.
And I think this might be about the time we're going to start to see that little bit of a balance change between the BMW and the Porsche here. Early on, the Porsche does struggle to get the pace and consistency out. And admittedly, we have got multiple Porsches from second through to eighth at the moment. They are starting to fall away further and further from our race leader, Josh Thomas. This is a really good opportunity further back for the guys to start clawing their way forward, and with the pace that Silvassi's got at the moment, should be able to get a move done. 4 tenths quicker last time by was a fantastic effort for him, and that car just starting to come into its own.
This is round 8 of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship, season 11. And certainly if you've enjoyed this broadcast so far, if you want to take part in the championship, sign up for the series. How are they meant to sign up? I think I asked you this last week, to be fair, Daniel. How are they meant to sign up? Is there a website they can go to, or the Discord they should go to?
AMF Discord would be the best one to go there, because it has all the links and required information to get yourself registered for the series, the rulebook, everything they need. So really good series to get on board with. They do quite a few other things other than just the GT. So there's some stuff on Monday nights, which is good to see. There's a move here with Tim Phelan and Simon Nicholson down into one. But if any of the viewers would love to come get a part of this action and turn their hand across to the GTE cars, by all means jump onto the AMF Discord and register and come have a race.
It'd be great to see you out on circuit. And if you don't want to take part, just carry on watching the broadcast. If you're enjoying the show at the moment. Beeben up a place then. Remember, has already paid. I think I said earlier on that he's taking tyres. He hasn't taken tyres, so he will have to take tyres later on. But he's potentially got one less pit stop to make compared to the drivers around him. Might be into the pits actually very soon. Might want to half and half the race. Although I think it might be best to go as far as he can. At the moment for Beeben, I think it's a little bit like that situation when you're on a single lane road, and you overtake one car. 8 roads in the UK. I'm not sure what they're like around the world, but you overtake one car in like a pack when you want to go a bit faster, and then you're just behind another car anyway, and you don't really gain any time from overtaking anyone. Because it takes very much the exact same time, because there's so many cars to overtake. It's a similar situation right now for Beeben. He gets past one car of Nicholson, but he's still got 3 more to get past. And I think considering how long it took him to get past Nicholson, it's going to take him a while, and probably until his second pit stop, until he actually overtakes all these guys. And remember, he is really racing them with that strategic advantage. Currently, Beeben is 12 seconds now off the lead and lapping these drivers. Now half a second slower. Thomas going faster and faster at the moment. Despite being in that BMW, which we thought might be getting a little bit slower as this race goes on, he's absolutely getting these lap times in, whilst everyone else seems to be dropping off. Joshua Thomas is marginally improving his times.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages of being up front. Obviously, you can set your own pace, you can pick your markers, you can control where you want to position these cars. when you get further back in the pack, as I'm seeing evident here with Adrian Block and Trent Thomas, you're really struggling to get those ideal lines, hit your marks, and roll those cars through to try and save the tyre life. So a little bit hard here as we see Block with a minor disconnect there. So that's something that could be a little bit worrying for himself, and likewise for Trent. When you're a car following, the last thing you want is a car flashing in and out on you. And Trent will definitely be looking to try and get a move done and start marching a little further forward up to his teammate in the former Ross Rizzo.
Oh, you can see a move this time for Feber. Does look a little bit more live now. Does the defending champion. Still very much in the championship hunts is Feber. He's been very quiet so far this season. A little bit underwhelming in qualifying, usually out on the lower end of the top 10. Block has had, I think that's actually an off for Adrian Block. It might just be a disconnect. But I think it is, and I think Gardner may have been involved in that one as well. I wonder if there's been a little bit of an issue for those drivers, Block and Gardner perhaps getting together. And they've dropped down the order. Scott Newton on the cameras, getting us a replay of it. So I think Thomas has lost it. Sorry, Thomas might go into Block here. No, Block's lost it by himself. And then I think if he might rejoin unsafely here into Gardner. No, I think Gardner just gets held up potentially. Oh, no, there was contact between the two of them. And they have a secondary incident. And then Block rejoins unsafely for a second time. And stewards will certainly be having a look at that.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like just watching the final unfoldings there for Block and the Mark 1 car there, Block does get in contact with him, and ultimately, as you see, he comes back out in front of some of the XRC cars. So, as per the rulebook, that'll definitely see some issues there, potentially a couple of points off the license as well. So, not a great run for him.
Danny Davison. No, it's alright. It's alright. I get confused by our timing system. I thought he'd pitted twice. I thought, hang on here, Danny Davison's going to win this race. He's not going to win the race, unfortunately, for the Danny Davison fan club. He has just pitted once, but he pitted on lap 2, hence my confusion. But he is looking decent at the moment in 15th place. Currently 6th out of the drivers who have come into the pits. And he's 30 seconds behind Joshua Thomas. So when Thomas comes into the pits, I imagine he will be behind Davis. But of course we'll have to take less fuel later on. So we're not quite sure how this race is going to turn out. We think that the drivers who came in for a stop, the very early safety car, we had a chaotic first lap. We haven't seen much chaos since then, frankly. But after that chaos we saw on the first lap, had a safety car. Many drivers came into the pits. Some took tyres, most didn't. We think those drivers who came into the pits should have an advantage to the end of the race. But Joshua Thomas's consistent lap times out in front are giving him a good hope of taking another race victory and taking the championship lead as well in this round 8 of the season. Of course, 12 rounds this season that we're going to have. We did miss a round earlier on in the championship, which was a shame. And there was a balance of performance adjustment. However, we will have an extra round of the championship during the 13th week of this season because it's a leap season. This season in iRacing, so that will be good to see for us to go back up to that 12 races. Jeremy Clark into the pits. He was running Clark in 3rd place, and actually a few others coming in as well. Karan, McHugh, and Whiting. Is that as far as the fuel goes? Why have they all come into the pits on this specific lap, Daniel?
Well, look, I'm going to play the superstitious person here. They've all been listening to you, Sam, earlier on, where we did stipulate about 45 minutes being about the ideal time. But for the longer races, the guys do, similar to the 45s, do start on a slightly smaller fuel capacity and do need to get back out. It's just almost a little bit of contact with Karan getting that Porsche out and away. But for these guys, it's about the right time to come through, start getting these stops done and dusted, and pushing on. Admittedly, the first 3 guys hadn't come down at all.
Karan hard into the wall. He's done a Martin van Liesnoord. He did that a couple of times. Very experienced driver, Martin van Liesnoord, in the Porsche Cup car on cold tyres. It is tricky, and Karan has gone hard into the wall. And well, fortunately, he's been able to get back going, so he shouldn't get a safety car. As long as he can get back to the pits, that car absolutely wrecked. That's a shame for Sean Karan because he had a chance at a top 10. And in fact, maybe he is going to park it up, and perhaps we are going to see a safety car coming out.
Yeah, that's a big lose there, down into 1. It's very easy to do, as you say, on those cold tyres. So we've heard race control. The tow permission has been granted, and he will be back in the lane now. So very unfortunate there for Karan, who was having a really strong showing and on for a very solid haul of points.
So we think we're going to get a safety car for this one, or going to escape?
No, I think we'll still continue on. There was no call from race control to say that we would get that, but they have deemed that the race should continue on, so should be okay at this point in time.
Chris keeping into the pits. Must say, when if I knew about that with the I would have been straight into pits. You want to pit before the pace car, and not after. Pit during the safety car, and you'll drop to the end of the train. Whereas pit just before then, it's usually pretty good, as long as you don't fall a lap down. Jeremy Clark, he is past Christopher Hughes, so he is up into 17th place now. However, he is behind many of the drivers, obviously, who have come into the pits already. I am questioning how this strategy for the drivers who didn't come in under the opening safety car, how this strategy is going to work out for them. It doesn't look very promising at the moment. 23 degrees track temperature is pretty cool up there, but we'll be getting, apologies, I said it was going to be getting warmer. Still going to be getting warmer. The time is frozen. Oh no, it's not. Apologies, it is all right. Thanks to Scott Neaton for just updating the overlay there. So we have got time progression, and we'll be getting a little bit warmer as this race moves on.
Yeah, and that'll really help the guys out, especially getting a little more heat into the tyres. Might make things a little trickier later on, but a 23-degree track temp, as we're seeing at the moment, very, very ideal conditions for them to be running these cars around in.
Jordan Cullis, another driver who has opted in. Not quite sure where Cullis was. I think he was in that second train, wasn't he? He was around the Silvati train, I believe, was Cullis, for the pit stops. Timothy Beeben is well ahead of these guys. So yeah, plenty of drivers now coming into the pits. A few drivers who haven't come into the pits so far. We've got Thomas in the lead, Healy, Nicholson, Specchio, Trent Thomas as well, and also Nick Sanfilippo. All haven't come into the pits so far in this race.
That's a bit of a risky strategy to be running it as long as the guys are doing at this point in time. I would be trying to get those cars in, as you say, get one of those stops out of the way, come through and start thinking about how you're going to conclude this one.
I think for the two leaders, Healy's now coming to the pit, so he's totally proved me wrong here. But I would think for the two leaders, the fact that you're in fresh air still, may as well just stay out. Stay out of battling with other drivers. We've seen how tricky it is to overtake, and if you've got fresh air in front of you, you may as well use that. Healy disagrees with me, he's coming into the pits. Joshua Thomas, though, staying out. Of course, Timothy Beeben with one of his pit stops complete, and he's only 14 seconds off the lead at the moment, Beeben. This race win looking pretty certain right now for him, frankly. It's looking absolutely fantastic for the car number one. With that one less pit stop to make, could have some issues if there is a safety car. but he'll go as far into this race as possible. Will Theben and Thomas at the moment, who is still outlapping Theben. 38.6 for Thomas. This has been some of the best driving I've ever seen from Joshua Thomas. Some of the best driving in this series, full stop, frankly. This consistency has been mind-boggling so far. Totally in that area. I don't think he's set a lap time out of 38.6, 38.7 or 38.8 so far in this race. Been really consistent. And Timothy Theben at the moment behind him, Simon Nicholson just a little bit further back as well.
Yeah, Thomas has done everything right since getting away at the start of the safety car period. Has not put a foot wrong, continued to extend the gap every lap out towards the guys behind him. So he's sitting very, very comfortable at the moment. A few of the guys a little further back, Tim Theben, probably most notably the car in the best position at the moment. Already one pit stop completed, which he did under the safety car period. One still to go, up 4 spots from where he started, and looking very, very sharp at the moment in the Mach 1 Esports Porsche there, along with Simon Nicholson, who still got those 2 spots still to come. The teammates now for Trick Esports closing back in. I don't think we're going to see too much of an issue between either of these two potentially changing spots here, but Thomas a little bit quicker of the two at this moment.
Yeah, Thomas was a while behind Rizzo at one point. He's been able to close up that gap half a second faster on that last lap. Trent Thomas, he's honestly been the second fastest driver out on circuit ever since that spin. What could it be for Trent Thomas today? He should get past Rizzo though. I don't think Rizzo will put up a fight. It's really a battle this, as Rizzo already with 1 pit stop complete in this race. 40 minutes to go in this event. Brady McHugh. By the way, just as an example of the fresh tyres effect, drivers who have come into the pits for fresh tyres have been really quite rapid in recent laps. So Clark and McHugh, 2 of the top drivers who have come into the pits. Also Michael Healy as well. All in the low 38s. Oh, we've got who is that off the circuit? Is that Clark? Oh, what a shame for Jamie Clark, running as high as 3rd place earlier on, and he is spun off at that tricky turn 7. We've seen a few offset there at that corner. Trent Thomas went off there earlier on. That's a big shame for the 712. I was just saying, was really very fast in the low 38s, lapping over half a second faster than the race leader on those fresh tyres. But that's a spin which will send him quite far down the order. Lost him over 10 seconds.
Yeah, really unfortunate. He's going to have to get back on with it as quick as possible and start trying to close that back down again. So hopefully it doesn't impact him too much as a result of that. As we see Silvassi and Nicholson in the lane for the first of their stops as well.
Yeah, they will be. They'll be behind. Will they be ahead of? No, they're behind Clark. There you go. That was painful to listen to. They're behind Clark still. I thought they may have been able to jump Clark, but they're only 2 seconds behind Clark now. Especially, they were in a different pack earlier on, but that mistake from Clark has really cost him very badly. So it's just Joshua Thomas and Trent Thomas yet to come into the pits in this race. Everyone else with 1 stop. No one doing the 2 stops so far. In fact, actually, I say that. A couple have. Cullis, Janssen and Morris all quite far down the order at the moment. But might be in with a chance of a top 10 later on in this event. Danny Davison chasing down Ross Rizzo, who has been overtaken by Trent Thomas already. Martin Crisp now into the pits.
Davison looking good down into 1 there. Gets that move done nice and quickly. Rizzo got a big wiggle on the exit of the final corner there, which ultimately led to that pass for Davison going through. So Danny pressing on. He's got now Trent Thomas further up the field and starting to gain a little bit of an advantage already over Ross Rizzo.
Rizzo not with the pace quite today. He's usually kind of 5th to 10th fastest. He's always in that kind of lower end of the top 10 Rizzo, but has largely maximised his points so far this season. Pretty sure he benefited as well a little bit from the post-race penalties at Nordschleife last year. I think he managed to move up into 3rd place when all the penalties were complete. But he is on a good strategy, Rizzo. Has already taken tyres, might have to take tyres later on. Davison, to be fair, doesn't need to take tyres either as well. Joshua Thomas into the pits. He should come out, I can only imagine, around Rizzo, in fact. I think he'll be in that range, depending on whether or not he takes tyres. Actually, he will probably take tyres. That would probably be the wise thing to do, or he could just take a few seconds of fuel, but let's say we'll be loading up that car with fuel, taking some tyres, and we'll be very quick over the next few laps. Timothy Phoeben then takes the lead of the race. And in fact, actually, Thomas will be much further down than I thought. He'll be stationary for another 5 seconds or so. He'll actually be around kind of Michael Healy, Brady McHugh potentially. Although he won't be stationary for a whole lot longer. Taking a longer pit stop than most of his rivals, actually, Joshua Thomas. It looks as though he's getting pretty much all his fuel and tyres done right now, and that will mean that his second pit stop will be extremely short. And here he comes out of the pits. He will be ahead of McHugh, but here comes Mellett. He's just ahead of Mellett, so that's a couple less drivers for him to have to overtake. He's got Craig Edwards just in front of him, he is effectively ahead of. So yeah, Thomas now with some fresh tyres should be very quick for these next few laps.
Yeah, definitely, and see him come through. Craig Edwards at the moment, the recovering Craig Edwards, already has his stops done, I believe, at this moment, up into 7th position. So has made quite a strong gain after the earlier issues we saw all the way back at lap 1, where he had that rotation and contact that ultimately sent him to the back of the grid. Still putting in some solid lap times considering the damage on the car last time by a 1:39.5, so looking very, very good.
Phoeben seemingly just copying Joshua Thomas. I think Phoeben sees Joshua Thomas as his main rival out here today, and so he's just come into the pits. This will be a very short pit stop for Phoeben. He should be able to come out ahead. Or will he be ahead of Thomas? Well, this is a big moment of the race then. Phoeben wants to stay ahead here. Apologies, no, this will be his second pit stop. So yeah, it's very confusing, this whole 2 pit stops, 1 tyre change. So he will be well behind, apologies, but of course this will be Phoeben's last pit stop that he needs to make. So still looking very good for him as he does drop behind Joshua Thomas. Phoeben will be stationary for a couple of seconds longer, taking the fuel he needs to get to the end of the race. One of the longest pit stops we're going to see all day, in fact, over 43 seconds stationary. He'll be back out on to track, and nothing left to do now for the final 32 minutes of the race. And just needs to try to keep up some good lap times now, stay within 30 seconds of Joshua Thomas, and he should be on course for another race victory. It looks like at the moment, I mean, there could be a curveball here. What can Ross Rizzo do? What can Craig Edwards do? But it is looking very good for him at the moment. Joshua Thomas, by the way, ahead of Craig Edwards now. Yeah, overtaking him, seemingly. 3 purple sectors there for Joshua Thomas. He's absolutely lighting up the time screen. He's just set, yeah, the fastest 3 sectors of this race consecutively. Unfortunately, it was his outlap. Or 2 of them were his outlap, so it wasn't the fastest lap, but I think fastest lap is coming up for him very soon. This was just after how Thomas managed to get past Edwards, so you can see the extra confidence that he's got at the moment. Lighting up the timing screens, trying to build up a gap to at least get a podium out of this. By the way, of course, you can check out the live timing link in the description below. Click on that link. You can see when the drivers last pitted in, what the length of their pit stop was, how many times they come into the pits there, last lap time, the intervals between each of the drivers, some really useful stuff. So click on the link in the description below, provided by SDK Gaming, and you can tell what's going on in this structure, because we're struggling to tell what's going on. Appreciate it's probably quite confusing for you all that time. We're trying to give you the info for kind of what battles are proper and what battles in realistic terms aren't going to matter when the checker flag comes out. But certainly do click on that, and you can help yourself out. Sean Karan moves past Asian Vlog. That's one of the easiest moves we've seen all day as they move on to lap 35 of this race, almost on the hour mark. And there is the race leader, Trent Thomas, still with both pit stops still to make, however. And that fuel tank is not going to go a whole lot further. I'm surprised, to be fair, he's even gone this far. The GTE cars usually go about 55 minutes on fuel from my experience, but I think this is a relatively low fuel consumption circuit with the amount of corners we've got around this place. The fact that we don't really slow down a whole lot. You're carrying the speed from one corner to the other. So it's not a whole lot of stop and start where you waste the energy that you generate when you hit the brakes, and you've got to generate all that energy again to get back up to speed. So you're kind of carrying the momentum all the way around this 4-kilometre circuit. And Thomas stays up for another lap. He's gone over the hour mark. Davison just behind him as well, who pitted on lap 1 of the race. He's still going as well, though, with plenty more fuel. In fact, Davison has just come into the pits, apologies. He will drop down the order. So it's now Ross Rizzo up into second place. By the way, Joshua Thomas staying the fastest up the race at 37.55. That is 1 second faster than the race leader and 1 second faster than what Thomas was doing earlier on. So he is pretty rapid right now. It's the 766 machine.
Yeah, the tyres have really started to come in quite nicely for him there. He's got only a few seconds, about 7 seconds to catch up to Blake Delaney ahead, but with current pace on board, who'll definitely be making short work of that one and getting his way back up to the front. But as you say, for Trent Thomas, really surprised he's pushed on as far as he has managed tonight. Further back in the field, Martin Crisp, Jordan Cullis, the teammates still working their way through the circuit at the moment, currently down 15th and 16th position. Some nice solid lap times for these guys, sitting very consistent around the 1:38.7 range at the moment, and still working through for their respective pit stops as well.
Chris might be looking pretty good in this race. Wonder if we could get the number of pit stops completed by the drivers up on the overlay. Yeah, just to demonstrate how many pit stops drivers still got to make. 2 pit stops needed, of course. One of them with the tyres. And so Chris, with both of those pit stops complete, could be looking good at the end of today's event. Trent Thomas, I mean, it's a phrase I haven't used too much. It is a Sam Fitzpatrick original. He's got fuel in his pockets, which doesn't really make sense, and it's a dangerous thing to do. So it's not a very good analogy. However, it does seem like he's got spare fuel somewhere in that car. I know, stored in that rear wing or stored in the roof, because he's still going. And so too are a couple of others who pitted in the very early stages. So I'm still rapid though, with 38. Barely anyone who's faster than Trent Thomas out here today. But off at turn 7 earlier on in the event did cost him badly. His pace though will recover a decent result, maybe a top 10. Could get out of this one despite that mistake, and despite being on the not so good strategy. Martin Silvassi, 4/10 of a second behind Matt Morris at the moment. 1/10 slower on that last lap. Trent Thomas is finally into the pits, but all these drivers actually making their second pit stop, so this is a legitimate battle that they're all in. Steve Janssen made his pit stop very early. Some of these guys with fresher tyres than other. Janssen and Mellet with old tyres. Morris and Silvassi with much fresher tyres. So they should be able to have the pace advantage at the moment. So that will be a good battle to keep an eye on later on. Edwards also into the pits. So this is pretty much the limit of how far the fuel goes. I guess the safety car laps did help in getting them a little bit further. We did have 3 laps under the safety car earlier on in the event. That's the only safety car / virtual safety car we've had so far today, despite a couple of toes for some of the drivers. Nathan Huppert with one of them. And, so I think it may have been King Ryder as well, also going off the circuit. Apologies, Sean Curran, I think it was. He's still running actually, Sean Curran, despite turning back to the pits. I thought you weren't allowed back onto the circuit if you turn back to the pits, but it seems like Curran is still setting some lap times out here. So Rassi 3/10 of a second behind Morris. It's not close enough though into turn 1. He stays in 17th place. These guys are recently making their pit stops and actually dipping into 39s on that lap, a little bit of a slower time for the pair of them.
Yeah, both these teams very close together. Honestly, a little bit of a battle just ahead that they're trying to get back up to. You can see Malik, yes, and Hugh involved in that. So for Morris and Silvassi, a little bit of work left to do. Still recovering drives for both of these two. Morris, we saw earlier on, have those issues in the lap 1 incident. Silvassi just struggling a little bit with the pace and consistency in the Porsche at the moment, but still some very respectable results for both of these two drivers.
Ross Rizzo into the pits. This is big. Where does Rizzo come out? Where is he in comparison to Fieben? He's coming out of the pits now. He's not ahead of Fieben, is he? He's ahead of Fieben. Ross Rizzo, 4th place. He's got both of his pit stops done. And this is looking all right for him. He's ahead of Danny Davison as well. So, maybe I've got this one wrong. Maybe Ross Rizzo is actually the man in the box seat at the moment. Because he's up there in 4th place, both pit stops done. And Ross Rizzo might actually be on course for the race win, despite not being the fastest driver out there. I think most drivers would agree. Danny Davison as well, I think we've kind of underestimated in this race. He had the same strategy as Rizzo. And so those drivers who took tyres under the safety car are looking pretty good. However, they will have very old tyres in the closing stage. We're going to have a good race here, Dan. I thought Rizzo had built a big enough gap, frankly, against Davison and in fact, apologies. Yeah, apologies. I thought Fieben built a big enough gap against Rizzo and Davison that when they made their second pit stop, that he'd still be ahead. But actually, they've got track position at the moment, have Rizzo and Davison, and Fieben's going to be the one who's got to catch and pass them, which you feel is very possible. But it's certainly going to be an interesting element in the last 22 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and we've said it quite a few times over the course of this season, catching is one thing, passing completely different, another thing as well for these guys to do. Fieben, he's got the number 1 on the door for a reason. He was last year's defending champ, very consistent in these cars, knows how to get a move done when and where needed, but he's going to have a lot of work cut out for himself to get up to Rizzo, who's 5 seconds ahead. But for Rizzo, it's a little bit of the old tortoise in the hare moment. I mean, he wasn't the quickest car throughout the early phase of this race, but he's played himself fantastically into contention. He's currently sitting in 3rd, and while the guys in front still have a few stops left to do, namely Josh Thomas at the moment, he's in a very good spot here to get these done.
And of course, Joshua Thomas leading this race at the moment. Still got another pit stop to make, however. We expect Thomas to come out approximately 10 seconds behind Rizzo, Davison and Fieben. We don't think he's going to be able to battle those guys. You can see the gap at the moment, 20 seconds. But Thomas should be able to go pretty much until the penultimate lap. He put in a lot of fuel into that car at his first pit stop. 40 seconds stationary, so that's about 11 seconds worth of fuel. And so he should be able to go, maybe not the penultimate lap, I think another 10 minutes for Joshua Thomas. He's currently 38.6, which isn't electric pace. It's not stunning pace for him. We'll see what the others do. Davison only at 39.2. Rizzo with a 39.2. So Thomas 0.6 of a second faster at the moment. We think he's got another 6 laps or so on this tank of fuel. So Thomas is driving exceptionally well, and I think for me, Daniel, he's possibly my driver of the day, but not pitting under the safety car is looking quite tricky because you can see the gap for yourself there. You can see that he's got to make another pit stop. It's a long pit lane here at Barcelona. Even with this sensational pace he's delivering, he's struggling to build up a big enough of a gap at the moment.
Yeah, and when you consider that you're going to need somewhere in the vicinity of about 32 seconds to come in the lane, do that final stop, get the splash of fuel and get back underway, he's just not making enough inroad at this point in time to hold off the likes of Rizzo. The gap out to about 17.8 seconds for Josh Thomas at the moment, but it's just not enough at this stage of the game to get him or to allow him to retain that lead of the race.
So just looking at Rizzo's pit lane time that last time out, so he was stationary for 15 seconds, it was 40 seconds down the pit lane. We think so yeah, 25 seconds down the pit lane there. We think that Thomas is probably going to have to take, say, 5 seconds worth of fuel. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot more than that, seeing that he's already put quite a bit of fuel in that car. So that'll be 30 seconds. So the pit lane loss, it might only be 20 to 25 seconds, which gives Thomas an opportunity to open up that gap. The gap is currently 18 seconds to Rizzo. So it'll be close. Absolutely brilliant strategic race. So it's fantastic to see all these different strategies kind of colliding in these closing stages of the race. We've had some drivers who took tyres under the safety car, some drivers who took fuel under the safety car, some drivers who were just didn't take anything under the safety car, and they're all very evenly matched at this later stage of the race. Still some nice battles going on as well. Tom Huggan on the tail of Chris Keeping. Huggan, the amateur champion from last season, hasn't quite been as successful this season. Of course, now one of the pro drivers, but he is trying to get past Chris Keeping, a move that you'd expect he will make. That's one of the riders just in front of him. Vaughan rider, I believe it is Vaughan rider, just in front of them. He lets them on by pretty easily. 7.73 on that last lap. Closed in by 1/100th of a second, so pretty evenly matched are these two drivers.
Yeah, not much between either of them at the moment. So pressing on quite nicely. The gap still second, third, third, fourth, and fifth with Simon Nicholson in the mix as well. Just hovering around that 2.5 second range at the moment. Tim Phoeben has closed up massively into this fight as well. He's only another 9/10 of a second behind Nicholson there. So there's 4 cars in very quick succession. You see them all just in the shot of frame there, getting up in amongst it. So really solid work for all these guys. And closing in, we're only down to 17 minutes left on the clock. They're in a very good position to be fighting out for our podium.
Danny Davison's going to be an important part of who wins this race, whether or not he can keep behind Timothy Phoeben for very long. Phoeben now 3 seconds behind Rizzo, and Phoeben lapping 7/10 of a second faster, so he will catch Rizzo and Davison by the end of this race. He's only just behind. I mean, you can see him in the back of shot there. But yeah, will he catch fast enough to overtake him? And of course, Nicholson as well, still with that final pit stop as well to make in the midst of them. As Davison catching up to Rizzo as well. 4-car battle for the race win, as you were saying, Daniel. And Thomas actually only matching Davison, seems at the moment. Or Davison and Rizzo. Well, actually, no, half a second faster than Rizzo, to be fair. And still with about 5 more minutes of fuel left in that car. Nicholson comes into bits. That's good news for Timothy Phoeben. 1 less car for him to overtake now, and he's got a clear shot at Rizzo and Davison Healy still with a pit stop to make, of course, in second place, so he's out of it. But yeah, Thomas will be around those drivers as well near the end. Craig Edwards very close to Blake Delaney at the moment. 0.2 of a second behind. Could see a move very soon between these guys. You can see a bit of damage actually on Edwards' car. Pole position driver, remember how wrong it went for him on the opening lap. Outbroke himself into turn 1. And then also had an incident as well down at turn 5. Or was it turn 9? I think it was turn 9 in fact. But has come back well. Has Edwards. Looks though he might recover a P7 out of this, which I think he was very much taken, seeing that he was pretty much plumb last for much of this race.
Yeah, he's driven fantastically to come back after those few little issues, and I think this is probably going to be up there as one of his great drives and recovering drives to get back up inside the top 10. Potential to go up into the 7th position. He's only got Blake Delaney just ahead, and we've already seen him with some very quick moves, so should be able to go through. Dominic Malik with a couple of issues. Here's a quick look at just how that unfolded. We've seen Matt Morris trying to get down the inside, and just a little bit of contact between Morris and Malik. Also, Martin Silvassi just getting a little bit of a nudge on the back of Morris as well. So potential coming Matt Morris's way, as race control will undoubtedly have to review that one.
Healy in. Well, where will he come out? Maybe around Steve Janssen. Very appropriate that we're watching. No, Healy should be clear actually. He's already back going again actually, is Healy, so he'll be out of the pits imminently. And there he goes. 5th place for Michael Healy. Will he be 5th place? Trent Thomas very close. Trent Thomas is very quick, remember. But Healy is just ahead. Nice work with the 948 car. Just showing how lots of different strategies have worked today. Admittedly, you've had to be very quick to pull off Healy's strategy, but he is just ahead of Trent Thomas. Will be a nice battle between those two in the closing stage. It could be a very good day for Trick Esports with potentially a 1st and a 5th coming their way. Yeah,
definitely, and the two teammates here are not want to get into each other here, but I think for Healy, a little bit quicker pace at the moment. Should see him maintain that option. As we see still Davison and Rizzo closing in and continuing to close in that fight for 2nd position at the moment, down to half a second. Davison doing a really solid job here, just applying the pressure slowly. Still yet to see Josh Thomas down the lane for his final stop yet, but as we past hour 17 minutes, he's going to be running out of time, so going to need to get that one sorted pretty quickly. But for all these cars behind, they are running sensationally well. Phoeben slowly closing this gap up to Davison and Rizzo as well.
Joshua Thomas extending that gap now to 20.7 seconds. It was 16 seconds just a few minutes ago, about 10 minutes ago it was. Big question for Joshua Thomas. How far can he go on this tank of fuel? He put in plenty of fuel at his first pit stop. He was stationary. He had 12 seconds worth of fuel in that car. If he has to pit now on this lap, then he'll probably come out in 4th place. But if he can extend this for another 3 or 4 laps, the race win might just be coming to him. Davison as well, right on the tail of Rizzo. If they start battling with one another, that's going to help Thomas even more. And Phoeben will be right with them as well. I think we might have to keep an eye on Rizzo and Davison. Remember, their tyres put on the 2nd lap of this race. They're really aging, as Jeremy Clark, he's battling hard with Dominic Mellett currently, and Clark with the inside line into 3, but it hasn't worked well for him. Remember, an off at turn 7 for Clark earlier on in this race after running in the top 3 early on. Is he passed yet into turn 4? Should have the battle done now. Nice move there from Jeremy Clark to move up into 16th place. He was much faster than Dominic before, and he is up into that 16th place now. Doubt he'll be able to make any more places in the future. However, Thomas stays out for another lap. It's up to 21.2 seconds now. He might have the gap he needs to come out of the pit still in the race lead. Rizzo in 2nd place. Davison now 3.5 tenths behind, and Phoeben taking a few more tenths out of their gap. But Davison not close enough again into turn 1. We haven't seen him yet get anywhere near close enough for an overtake, despite the fact that it looks as though he's about half a second a lap faster.
Yeah, he's really struggling to find a position to get that car down the inside. While these two do start battling, it is bringing Tim Phoeben closer in. You can just see him starting to reel that gap down 0.7 of a second at the moment. So working our way through turn 3 and 4 now, and not much amongst it at all. Rizzo doing everything he needs to do, just placing that car in the right position. It's going to make it extremely hard for Davison to get through, and this fight's going to continue all the way through to conclusion.
He seems to be holding off Trent Thomas very well at the moment in 5th and 6th. It's a Healy there because Trent Thomas has been very quick today, but looks as though 5th place is coming his way. Martin Silvati trying to get past Matt Morris as Thomas is into the pits. And they will have to concentrate on Joshua Thomas here because this is going to be close. We think the pit lane loss is approximately 20 seconds. He had a 22-second lead. We'll have to take some fuel, Will Thomas, but it will be about 5 seconds or so as his rivals are coming out of the final corner. Looks like Rizzo is going to be able to get past. Thomas didn't quite build up the gap that he needed, and he will come out of the pits in 4th place. He tried his best, however, he is in range, and it is going to be the 4-car battle that we wanted. If he'd been able to go another 4 laps, and maybe he would have had it. But this is a properly epic finish now that we've got. We've got the 2 leaders with very old tyres. Then we got the 3rd place driver of Timothy Phoeben with much fresher tyres. And we got Joshua Thomas, who has been the fastest driver so far today on the freshest tyres in 4th place. Round the track, which is very tricky to overtake. We've got 8 minutes to go. It's going to be tasty.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic way to finish out this battle. We've got all 3 makes in the top 4 at the moment. Unfortunately, no Ferraris on circuit tonight, which is a bit of a shame for the Italian crowd, not getting one of them out there. But for the cars that are up here at the moment, doing a stellar job. And we see Phoeben close right in now. Davison's still looking for a position to get through Rizzo, and just at the moment not being able to find something here. Rizzo, though, has really brought the Ford to life. We've been seeing it throughout the course of this championship, well down the order, and with the pace that Rizzo's had and the consistency that he's been able to do and save the tyres, he's really come into contention here, and it's going to be a stellar run for him to get this car home.
It would be a mega race victory for Rizzo. We were saying how he wasn't doing enough in the early stages, that maybe he had the right strategy, but wasn't doing enough with it, wasn't going fast enough. Whether or not he was fast enough or not, he's still in the lead of this race. And now Davison, if anything, looking behind him rather than looking in front of him, just putting his car in the middle of the circuit, warding off any threat from Phoeben. Tom's now 2 seconds behind these guys. He's going to be lapping about half a second a lap faster than them, so he might be onto them on the last lap. But of course he will want to win this race. It will be very tricky for him to pass all of them unless they do start fighting and start losing each other time. Phoeben needs to make this move very quickly. Here he goes into 5. Much better braking capability than Davison, but Davison was wise to it. And whilst 2nd and 3rd start battling, it's going to take the pressure off Rizzo. This is exactly what Rizzo needs. No team affiliations, remember, in this battle. We've got 4 different teams up in the top 4 at the moment. So no teamwork whatsoever from these guys. It's all for themselves.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tricky one to see for Phoeben now. He's closed up on the back of this battle. The longer he sits behind Davison, the harder he's going to find himself getting a move done. We've already seen that with Davison. He got up to the back of Rizzo and has struggled to get a move done now for about the last 4 to 5 laps here. So one of the unfortunate things is these guys all start to bank up. Getting those opportunities is going to be a little bit harder because every driver is going to be aware to what they're doing. Josh Thomas also in the background, really starting to close that gap down. 1.8 seconds off our race leader at the moment, and he's definitely on a hard charge to come back through the field.
8 tenths faster, 4 or 3/4 of a second faster for Joshua Thomas on that last tour. And he will be on them then by the end of this race. We've got 4 more laps to go, I believe, including this one. So he will be onto the back of them in a couple of laps' time. Maybe not on by the end of this lap, but maybe midway round the next tour. He will have 3 cars to overtake, and they'll become increasingly easier. Remember, Rizzo is the slowest out of these drivers. Davison's got equally as old tyres, but he does seem to have had a pace advantage in the last half an hour or so. Was lapping 0.3 of a second faster before he caught him. Bieber much faster than these two, and Thomas pretty evenly matched to Bieber, maybe a couple of tenths faster again. So if you can get past one, the next one is probably going to be easier. Certainly if Bieber was in second place, I think he would be past Rizzo right now, but it's just the way that this race has turned out at the moment. Fifth place is Michael Healy, 10 seconds behind these drivers, as Bieber, I think, was looking to have a move into 10, but the space on the inside of the track wasn't quite there. Davison closer than he's been on previous. That's when he'd go for the move into 11. I think that's just an alternative line that he takes. And Thomas is onto the back of them at the end of this lap. We've got 5 minutes to go in this race. 1 minute 40 lap times. And so, 4 minutes to go in this race. And so it will be 3 more laps to go, I believe, including this one, as Bieber is right there now. Is there space on the inside circuit? It's a wide pit straight here. However, it's not wide enough for him to find the inside line. Round the outside he goes, though, into 1. It will be the inside for 2. Is there going to be contact? There is contact between the 2 of them, and spinning off is Danny Davison. He has driven absolutely fantastically all day long, and unfortunately that is not justice to the drive that he has put together. He drops down into 6th place. Hopefully he'll stay ahead of Delaney. He will stay ahead of Delaney, and the stewards may have to have a look at that one, although I imagine it will be post-race at this point in the event. As you see a quick replay of how it happened, it was a brave move round the outside from Timothy Beeban. You've got the inside for 2, and maybe Davison should have left more space. Maybe there was some understeer. It is quite unsure. Here it was from Davison.
Yeah, and it's a tough predicament for Davison to be in. He's gone down the inside and gone defensive. You lose sight of where Phoeben is on the outside there, and as he's cut back across to the standard racing line, just been turned around as a result of that. So race control will definitely take a look into that one. But as we unfortunately lose one competitor out of this fantastic top 4, we're down to 3. A podium are going at it. Rizzo still doing a stellar job keeping the Trick Esports car up the front and in the sharp end at the moment. For Phoeben, he's going to have to turn the attention forward and backwards. He's the meat and the sandwich at the moment, with Josh Thomas closing back in. And are we likely to see a repeat of this incident that we saw between Davison and Phoeben next time by? But here's a really solid opportunity for Josh Thomas down the front straight.
That's wide from Phoeben, just slightly jeopardised his run. 2 to go at Barcelona, and I don't think Phoeben's going to get it done this time. Here he goes, though, down the inside. Proves me wrong. Rizzo will try to stick it round the outside. Gets the inside for 2. Thomas trying to take advantage of this as well. But ahead goes Timothy Phoeben. That was a long way back into turn 1. And Ross Rizzo's strong defence of turn 1. It was just a little bit too late for him. But back he comes. Down the inside goes Rizzo. Oh, that was not a move which was on whatsoever. Remember the age of his tyres. He's been on them for pretty much the entire event, has Ross. And I doubt he'll be able to fight back now. The big question is, can Thomas get past Rizzo and put some pressure on Timothy Phoeben? Or will Rizzo hold up the BMW and cause the car number 1 to take this race victory? However, Rizzo at the moment driving well. Big slide there though, and that's going to put him under massive pressure from Thomas. Here comes Thomas. He's closing in. He's got to go for the lunge. If he's going to win this race, he has to do it right here. Oh, he had a look, but he didn't quite commit to it. And with just 1 lap and a couple of corners to go, this race coming towards Mach 1 Esports right now.
Yeah, really the best opportunity for Phoeben at the moment to get a win in this race is the second and third positions really start to heat it up. For Thomas, he's got to try and get this move done this time by. We saw Phoeben last time by do the same thing that he tried to do to Davison the lap before, ultimately getting through, no contact this time by. But for Josh Thomas now, here's his run. The BMW winds it up should be an easy one down into turn 1 here. Rizzo's not going to make it easy for him, however. Just closes across. Actually, Rizzo with a really solid run there, able to retain that spot through turn 1 and 2.
Thomas just not aggressive enough there. I mean, it's the final lap of the race. And Fieben, with this one sewn up right here, it's just who's going to finish in second place. Rizzo much slower. He's about 0.8 of a second a lap slower at the moment. There goes the extra grip for Thomas. Will he be more committing on the brakes this time? Again, he's staying right to the inside. Rizzo with a better run out of the corner. I think Rizzo will be able to fend this one off into 7. He will. Thomas not deep enough on the brakes, not carrying enough speed into the corner. You've got to respect that he doesn't want contact with his rival. But it is surprising considering that he's led most of this race. He's been the fastest driver on circuit for the entire 90 minutes, really. He's not more frustrated, he's not more aggressive right now. Here he goes into 10. Rizzo round the outside again. He will have the inside 411 as well. That'll be a long route round for the BMW to make it into this one. We're into the final sector of this lap. And still Rizzo hanging on for second place. Out to the lead though, it is Timothy Fieben, who won the championship last season. He hasn't had a whole lot of success this season, but it does look like he is going to be able to take the final endurance meeting of the season. Timothy Fieben, Mach 1 Esports, wins at Barcelona. Brilliant drive from Fieben, the correct strategy and some fantastic pace as well. Gets him that race win. Rizzo holds off Thomas, who will be... maybe should have come into the pits. Thomas, he led for much of the race. And just didn't quite have the pace to win out in the end. Healy finishes in a fantastic 4th place despite not having the best strategy. Davison in 5th. And of course Davison with those issues. Issue 4, Thomas on the last lap. What was happened to Trent Thomas in those close? I don't even see him on the timings, but he's 13th, Trent Thomas. So has he come in for an extra pit stop right at the end of the race? I think he has. He pitted Trent Thomas with a couple of laps to go because he didn't have enough fuel to the end of the race. So Thomas should have finished in 5th place, but instead he drops down to 13th instead. Daniel, superb event. A bit of a normal Barcelona race in the fact that we didn't see a whole lot of overtaking out on circuit. Didn't see a whole lot of safety cars besides the one on the opening lap. But in terms of strategy, that was one of the best races I think we've had in Aussie Mix and Fix. So many different strategies. And in the end, it comes down to a wheel-to-wheel battle right at the end.
Yeah, definitely. It was a fantastic race. Once we go away from that first lap, everything really started to play out. Josh Thomas built quite a commanding lead throughout the entirety of the race. He was definitely the man to try and beat. Unfortunately, strategy at the end didn't quite work his way. He did manage to come home 3rd for a fantastic result. Probably the 2 big surprises that we saw out there tonight, Ross Rizzo and Tim Fieben, kind of played themselves in from almost nowhere and respectively find themselves up on top step for Tim, and Ross coming home with a fantastic 2nd place for the Trick Esports.
More good points for Ross. And of course, Fieben, he came into this round in 5th place in the championship. Certainly very much still in the championship hunt, but that's going to boost his championship hopes even more. Thomas 2nd place in the championship, finishing in 3rd. Edwards in the end recovering after an awful start. Back to a decent result. 9th place in the end for Edwards. Though he may have been a little bit higher than that, considering Thomas had to come into a pit stop late on. But yeah, 9th place for Craig Edwards. So not too bad for the championship. However, I imagine Joshua Thomas now the championship leader. Is everyone across the line? Yes, they are. So we can go through the final results then, or this round 8 of the championship. It's round 8 of the championship, yeah. And winning out then is Timothy Fieben. Is that his first race win of the season? I believe it is. He has had a couple of 2nd places, a couple of podiums. But big news for him in the championship. The defending champion back on top. Ross Rizzo finishes in 2nd place. Probably had the right strategy, did Rizzo. just didn't quite have the pace of Theben, and of course those tyres really degrading near the end of the race. Joshua Thomas led most of the race, was exceptionally quick. Thomas. It's another race win though that escapes his grasp, should be the championship lead at least for him. Michael Healy finishes in 4th place. Then Danny Davison, second place for Davison for so long. If he'd passed Rizzo straight away, then he could have perhaps won, but that's a bigger. Finishes in 5th place. Then it was Blake Delaney up 13 places. Martin Crisp, once again, nice performance from the amateur driver in 7th. Then it was Brady McHugh, Craig Edwards, Jordan Cullis rounding out the top 10. Then it was Steve Janssen, Simon Nicholson, Trent Thomas, Matt Morris, Martin Silvassi, Jeremy Clark, Dominic Mellitt, Chris Keeping, Tom Hagen, Michael Whiting, Aaron Specchier, Adam Gardner, Christopher Hughes, Nickson Filippo, Sean Curran, Adrian Vlock, Vaughan Ryder, Michael Skurlock, Kane Ryder, and Nathan Hupperts. Shame for Hupperts there. And his championship in 6th place going into this round, looking very unlikely now for Hupperts. We've had a lot of ups and downs so far this season, but if Hupperts were to bring it back from this point, would be a pretty big miracle. He's probably dropped to 9th place in the championship after today's result. So we should be able to get some interviews with the drivers, and we have got all of our front runners in with a chat for us. So first up, we're going to drag in Timothy Theben, who is our race winner for tonight's event. Timothy, congratulations. That last 20 minutes must have been intense, chasing down the drivers on the old tyres and then making that move on the penultimate lap. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, it was absolutely epic. I enjoyed that so much. But just super intense the whole race, to be honest. It just felt like holy lap after lap, and I wasn't sure in that last segment who had pitted under the first safety car or not, because I didn't pit on the first lap around, and I think a few did, and I just didn't catch who that was. And but slowly but surely just pulled a few in, and it was coming up to the back of Ross, and I sort of got a bit wide on the exit of the last turn, and I knew that if I didn't have a crack at it, then I was going to have to be defending from Josh. So it was awesome race, over the moon.
Were you aware of kind of your chances of victory throughout the race? Were you aware of kind of what you needed to do to beat Joshua Thomas and beat Ross and beat Danny as well? I mean, how aware of the strategies were you in that kind of first hour of the race? Because I mean, up in the commentary box, we were struggling to keep up to date with them.
Yeah, look, I ducked in, on the second lap around, and no one sort of really did, and then I popped out only like 4 or 5 positions back from sort of where I was. So I was like, I thought it was going to be pretty good. And I was just trying to stay in touch with Josh, but as you know, Catalunya is very hard to pass on, and I was just being slowed ever so slightly in that group of cars I was with during the first bit, and Josh was just sort of skipping away. But I wasn't exactly sure how long it takes to sort of traverse the pit lane, so I knew it was going to be close. It worked out. So
in the championship, you headed into this round in 5th position. You get your first race win of the season. I mean, how do you rate your chances into the final few rounds of the championship? Because I think we've had like 7 different winners so far this season. It's been absolutely crazy. How do you rate your chances of taking your consecutive crowns?
Not super high, to be honest. I mean, look, Craig and Josh, they're super quick this season, and they're ahead. So I'd sort of have to have, Craig and Josh would both have to have sort of catastrophes in a race or two, I think, for me to sneak up there. But look, we'll give it a crack. I'd like to finish in the top 3, so that's the goal. But unfortunately, the first few races of the season, I was caught up in a couple of incidents, and that's sort of your season done, really. But we'll keep batting on.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck for that. Timothy, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just thanks to Mark 1, RMS, yeah, thanks to Ryan and his team for running a series. Yeah, it's just an awesome series to be part of, and yeah, super stoked with that race. Yeah, so and thanks to you guys for the commentary and the broadcast every week. It's great.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Timothy, and we'll see you back very soon.
Guys, take it easy.
That was Timothy Phoeben for Mach 1 Esports, your race winner for tonight. Daniel Leet is standing by with Ross Visway.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Ross, congratulations, mate. Fantastic drive to come home second place tonight. You really dragged a solid result out of the Ford tonight. Give us a bit of a recap on how things went in the first half before we dive into what happened through that second phase of the race.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Well, have you guys got me?
Yep.
Sorry, guys. The first half of the race, well, pitting under the safety car with the tyres was always plan A in the scenario of a full safety car. I knew I was going to pay the price at the end of the race, but I had to try something. The car was, I only managed a top 10 in qualifying, and that was as far as up the field as I was ever going to get. So had to try something different, rolled the dice, and obviously it did pay off. In the end, the first stint was probably a bit lackluster. I was a fair bit off the pace, I think, but the car's lap times remained fairly consistent despite the rising track temp. So I must have been doing something right, but I also might not have been optimizing. I don't know, maybe a question for another day.
Yeah, look, we've heard from a few guys in the Ford camp that it's been a little bit of a tricky car to extract the most out of. The tyres maybe at some points not the best throughout here, but for yourself, I mean, you played almost the ultimate tortoise in the hare game tonight, not quite being the quickest in qualifying, but come the conclusion of the race, you were right in there, and with a fantastic fight between yourself, Danny Davison, Tim Phoeben, and Josh Thomas for the last 5 laps. It was almost a game of who had what to get through, and you looked like you just had enough to position the Ford in the right spot to basically hold off Davison, but the guys certainly weren't giving you much room.
Yeah, well, I felt comfortable with being able to fight Danny, even though he was quicker than me in the first stint. I think I clawed some of that advantage back in the second, because I thought by the time he caught me, he was going to just drive past, and he didn't. So I thought, if I can somehow just keep Danny behind me as opposed to letting Phoeben or Josh overtake him, that's my best chance, is to have Danny in P2. So that's why I kind of swerved to keep Danny in the draft while he was under attack and things like that. And then obviously when he spun out, I was kind of like, well, I knew Tim was going to be a little bit quicker, and then was left, caught a day later, dollar short at T1. I thought Tim wasn't going to make the corner, quite frankly, nor even go for the move, because I thought he was too far back. So that's why I left all that space. And he pulled it up, and much to my displeasure. And then, was very much quite annoyed at myself for having let that one slip, because, I proved that I was able to fight off a faster car on fresher tyres the very next lap. So it's kind of like, if only you had a time machine sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a little unfortunate there for Phoeben getting through, but at the same time, you put on a fantastic display the next time by. Keeping Thomas behind really forced him around the outside there, and held your own to much success to get the second. So moving on, next week, we've concluded now with the endurance format for AMF for this season. We're off to Road America next week out, which is not a bad track, a lot of undulation, cars seem to flow very nicely. What do you think your chances are, and how do you think the Ford's potentially going to get around there?
Don't know, to be honest. It's not a track I particularly like, but I do get pretty decent results there, or either they're great results or they're terrible results. And I have a pretty sour memory of what happened last time we went there, was leading at the start of the final lap and came home 6th. So hopefully some better fortune this time around. But should be a good race. But it's a sprint format, so we're back to the sprint format. I think that's the main thing now that we can get rid of it out of enduro mode and try and really preserve tyres, save fuel as well, and probably get the elbows out a little bit more. I think that's going to be the bigger change.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Well, we're looking forward to it. No doubt you are. Before we let you go in and celebrate, a fantastic second place result tonight, is there anyone you'd like to shout out and thank for the Trick Esports team?
Well, first of all, a quick congratulations to Tim and to Mark 1 on the victory tonight. great result. Thank you very much to Akuta and Track Racer for the for sponsoring the series, and of course the blokes at Trick Esports, Trick Custom Fabrications, Momo, Fuel Auto Tech, and Pro Sim Gear, and yourselves, Apex Racing, for broadcasting the series.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot again, Ross. Congratulations on second place tonight, and look forward to catching up with you hopefully again next week at Road America.
Thanks, boys. Take care.
So that was Ross Rizzo for Trick Esports finishing in second place today. We are going to have a chat with our third place driver now, Joshua Thomas. Congratulations, Joshua, on that third position in the end. You led for almost all the race. Can we just say that it was the strategy which let you down today?
Yeah, it definitely was. For some reason, I had this weird thing in my head that you couldn't pit under safety car, so I was stressing out a bit. But you live and learn. They did a better strategy, and look, I nearly had him in the end as well. So had good pace. I just didn't convert it. So it was still good fun anyway.
Were you aware of who you were fighting for the race? Were you aware of who made the pit stops and who you were going to be coming out with near the end of the race?
Yeah, I knew Tim. I didn't know so much about Ross, but I knew Tim. I saw him pit, and I was hoping he was getting a penalty because, like I said, I was stuck under the impression that you couldn't pit. But that's just me not reading the rules properly. But I knew he was going to be close, and I saw I had about 24 seconds on him. But he, like I said, he still came out of the pits just ahead of me, and it was pretty good last couple of laps.
Absolutely. I mean, your pace today was pretty phenomenal, particularly the consistency of your pace. I mean, is that just because you've kind of done so many races round this place? We seem to visit this place every single season. Is it your experience, or what can you put that to?
Just focus, I think. I've done a few laps in the old F1 games when I was a little kid, but then not too much on iRacing around Spain. But yeah, I was really focused tonight. I was in the zone, and yeah, thankfully enough, I was pretty fast. So, like I said, didn't convert it, but you know, we'll live and learn, and we got next week as well. So.
Absolutely, and also a word on that final lap battle as well with Ross. That looked pretty intense, but he doesn't give up.
Nah, he's a pretty difficult one to pass. I had 16 incident points, so if I had contact with him, I would have had 20, which is the limit, and I would have got DQ'd. So I had to be careful, but nah, he's very tricky to pass, and look, hopefully next week I don't have to pass him and I'm ahead of him. But no, I feel like it was a good battle. It was good fun.
Absolutely, and also a word on the championship. I think the points may have just been updated. That's very useful. You're in the lead of the championship again, just ahead of Craig. I mean, Ross and Michael Healy, Timothy Phoeben as well, all in that fight. But you're back on top. You seem to have, been arguably been the fastest driver so far this season. So looking good for you.
I definitely won't count my chickens. The guys around me are crazy consistent and really good drivers, so I'm just going to have to keep my head down and look, you never know what's going to happen, but yeah, we'll take it by one race at a time, and we'll see how we go.
Definitely. Best of luck for next week, Joshua. Is there anyone you'd like to give thanks to?
Big thanks to Fishy Motorsports, Black Wolf Graphics, Virtual Motorsport Mentor, and Lakes Custom Computers. They all help out along the way, and yeah, thanks heaps for tonight, guys. Hopefully I'll see you next week.
Absolutely. See you then.
See ya.
Joshua Thomas there for Fishy Motorsports, your third place finisher tonight. Once again, big thanks to Track Racer and Akuta for sponsoring the series, along with RMS as well. Do check out all of their products. And Daniel, next up, we return back to the 45 minutes. I can't look forward to returning back to the 45 minutes. These 90-minute races are good, but the 45 tend to be a little bit more kind of chaotic, a little bit more intense during them with the safety cars and the virtual safety cars we get. And it's a pretty good host for the next round of the championship, pretty good host for the next 2 rounds of the championship. Road America and Monza. 2 slipstream circuits. We've also got Spa as well at the end of the championship. So I think that's going to be some close racing along these final few rounds of the season to decide who's going to take this championship, which at the moment, among the top 5 at least, is looking incredibly close.
Yeah, it's going to be a really solid conclusion to the end of the championship. We've still got 4 races to go in it, Road America being the next stop on the calendar. A circuit that all these guys are going to have a lot of familiarity with, whether it be Gran Turismo, iRacing. It's been in iRacing forever and a day, and a lot of guys have turned a hell of a lot of laps there. Very know their way around almost like the back of their hand. So it's going to be one of those ones that's going to really challenge the drivers. There's a lot of undulation. The carousel is going to be a big one to see how they look through getting the tyres. The infamous kink just after that for these guys trying to get through hard, fast, and full throttle is going to be a challenge. But as Ross said, the guys get the elbows out. We're going to see a lot more battling up and down throughout the field. And I think it's going to be another solid race. Much the same as we've seen tonight. Strategy's still going to come into play there. Admittedly, we only go back to a single stop, only fuel. They don't need to worry about the tyres this time. So, yeah, we're going to be in for a really solid conclusion to this championship.
Definitely. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show tonight. We certainly have up in the commentary box. We'll be back with you then, same time next week. Of course, if you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it. Also subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network and also subscribe to Apex Racing TV. Certainly subscribe to the latter because, I have no authority to say this, but we do have the best broadcasts on iRacing. So there you go. You should subscribe to Apex Racing TV and watch all of our races. If you're interested in Aussie racing, certainly do check out the AOSC Championship, which will be on the Esports Network as well next Friday evening for you Australians, Friday morning for Europeans. But for now, from me, from Daniel, and from Scott, we're going to say goodbye. It's Timothy Theben taking the last enduro of the championship. We'll see you back for the sprint races next week at Road America. See you then.